יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני ברוב חסדך אהוב אתך, אשתחווה לכל קודשך ויראתך. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מאוד, מאוד ביתך, ומקום משכן, ומקום משכן, משכן כבודך. מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני אשתחווה ואקרא אברך לפני אדוני מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך אדוני, את רצון אלוהים, ברוב חסדך ענני באמת, באמת אישך. מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טוב עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. משכנותיך ישראל.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Welcome. Don, so good to see you this morning. How are you doing?
I am wonderful, Beau. It's great to be with you this morning. It was great to, see us singing in the sanctuary to open the service today. Hopefully, we're not too far away. Not too far away.
I think every day, hopefully, we get a little bit closer.
Right.
Which I think is actually the perfect segue, because in just a moment we're going to join in the Nasim B'Chol Yom, the blessings for the daily miracles of our lives. And as we've all said many, many times in the past 13 months, that I think we've come to take some of those small blessings, small miracles, a lot more to heart, come to appreciate them a lot more these past many months. And so my invitation this morning is as Cantor Gurney chants the Nasim B'Chol Yom, if you have a prayer book, or you're following online in the prayer book, take a minute to actually read the English. I'm just going to point out some of the things that these blessings are for, right? They're not for the splitting of the sea. It's for awakening, it's for vision, for the ability to stretch our bodies, for rising to greet another day, for firm earth upon which to place our feet and to stand, for the gift, the ability to move, for clothing, for renewed enthusiasm for life, for being created in the image of God, for being free, for being a Jew, for having purpose, for harmony, and for the ability to study. And so we'll join together with Cantor Gurney, the Nisim B'chol Yom, if you're following along, page 175.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech vivina, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקח עברי.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע ארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש הרומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליעף כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיני ותנומה מעפעפיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בן חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
Amen. We continue with Psuke de Zimra with the words of Psalm 150.
Let's join together now in the spirited Sufi setting of Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, el bikocho, hallelujah, berkia uzo, hallelujah, bigdurotav, hallelujah, kerodulo, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol shama te hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Don, that was a new track there, I think. Is that our buddy Chris? Chris Harden?
Buddy Chris Harden. I
Chris,
think he got a little
really
a little salsa. He mixed in a little salsa.
Wonderful, but I think so much in the spirit of Psalm 150 that we praise God with music, with spirit, with voice, with keys, percussion, whatever we have at our disposal. Exactly. With that, we'll rise for the Baruch.
Ya la 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 Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. And now let's all join together in the chanting of the Ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. That there is a better place, a promised land. And that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. And that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands and marching together. We join in Mi Kamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא. שירה חדשה, שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם, הודו ומליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Israel, Kuma, Kuma, Bezrat Israel, Ufedei Chinumecha, Ufedei Chinumecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Ko'aleinu, 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 Adonai Tzivot, Shemo Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ka'ad Yisrael.
In just a moment, we will rise and join together in the Amidah, in the Ha-Tefillah, the prayer, the central piece of any Jewish prayer service. And we begin with this line, Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha, God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory, your praise. And the rabbis in the Talmud teach that this section of the service ought to begin and end with a verse from Scripture. And so we begin with that verse, Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, from the Psalms, thanking God for the ability to offer prayer. And we conclude the Amidah with the words of Yihiyu Leratzon, also from the Psalms, hoping that our words are enough, hoping that our words are acceptable. And so we'll rise now together for the Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Rishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Mimit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. שים shalom, שים shalom, שים shalom, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, אחינו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, תורת חיים, תורת חיים, ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים, וחיים ושלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל. בכל עת ובכל שעה ישלום לך, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום.
I think you're muted, perhaps.
I am. It's amazing how quickly you can get from your dining room to the sanctuary and back. It's quite impressive.
It is. I have this amazing route. I used Waze.
It's less traffic in the pandemic, right?
It's an Israeli creation, right, Waze?
100%.
That's right.
100%. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to do something a little bit different this morning and kind of lean into teaching a bit about this week's parsha, this week's double parsha. Actually, we have two parshiot. There are 54 Torah portions in the Torah. We read the Torah on an annual basis, 52 weeks in the year. You don't have to be a math genius to figure out that doesn't quite add up, not to mention add in a couple of holidays that jigger the Torah readings. And so in any given year, there are 7 parshiot that get doubled. And this year, parshiot Tazria and Metzora are read together on this week. And there are some Torah portions that are easy to find meaning in. And as any bar or bat mitzvah student will tell you, this morning's is not necessarily one of them. It's a Torah portion chock full of descriptions and proscriptions about leprosy and other skin diseases. So how are we to make sense of this parsha? Well, the rabbis go so far as to say that this skin disease, this leprosy, these white flaky lesions on the skin of our ancestors that are discussed in this week's parsha is actually a punishment from God. And it's a punishment for lashon hara, a punishment for using our words to speak ill of others, using our words to gossip and be unkind. So if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'm going to invite everybody who's with us, Facebook, YouTube, on the website, what have you, to close your eyes for a minute. Close your eyes for a minute and picture the last mean, unkind, hurtful thing you said to or about another person, whether it was to their face or to somebody else. And I want you to try to see that word and that phrase clearly in your mind. Think about it for a moment. And now picture that same word, that same phrase, that same name in large letters written across your forehead for all the world to see. A blemish, as it were. What if that were the first thing that people saw or noticed about you? How do you think people would react to that blemish? Would it change how they see you? Would it change how they treat you? And what do you think would be necessary? What might you need to do to clear your skin of that blemish, of that word? That, you can open your eyes now, that is how our ancestors saw leprosy, this tsarahat, these lesions, as a visible external blemish as a result of the way in which we use our words. That's part of the reason that in the verses of Torah that Cantor Gurney is going to chant in just a moment, one of the things that someone who is afflicted with leprosy is told to do is to cover their mouths with their garments, a mask, if you will, in our times. Back in ancient times, when people got sick, they often thought that it was because of something they had done. And they thought that it was a direct punishment for a moral sin. Now, knowing that, it's in no way surprising that the sages' response to why people got afflicted with this tsarahat is because they had done something bad, because they had spoken ill of others. Now, the Rambam, in his seminal famous work, the Mishnah Torah, 12th century, says that the Hebrew term for leprosy has a number of different meanings. First, the whiteness of someone's skin is called leprosy, but also the falling off of some hair on the head is also, or the chin is also called leprosy. And a change in the color of one's clothing or in a home, a house, is also referred to as leprosy. It's not a natural phenomena, the Rambam teaches, but it's deemed to be a sign and a wonder among our ancestors to warn them against evil gossip. If a human being deals in malicious gossip, the walls of his house, we are told, would change. If he repents, the house becomes clean again. But if he persists in this wickedness until the house was demolished, then leather objects in his home upon which he would sit or lie, they would then suffer a change. This is actually a supernatural phenomenon that our ancestors believed changed the environment in which people lived. But if and when he repents, everything becomes clean again. Everything becomes clean again. The rabbis in the Talmud, specifically Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, says that anyone who humiliates another human being in public, it as if they have spilled blood. it's as if they've spilled blood. He says, "You've spoken well," as we see that after the humiliated person blushes, the red leaves his face and the color comes back, which is tantamount to spilling blood. Our words have tremendous power. Whoever said that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me was an idiot. Because, as some of you know, I broke my foot in December. My foot feels fine. I don't think about it. But I can still tell you what someone said to me in third grade that broke my heart. And so can each of us. In the Tosefta, which is a very old 2nd century text, we're taught that for these evil things, they collect interest from the person in this world. And the principle, in other words, the main punishment, remains for the world to come. For idol worship, for illicit sexual relations, and for murder, and for gossip, the damage and the punishment are equivalent to them all. For the rabbis, gossip, using our words in unkind and malicious ways, was equal to idolatry, sexual immorality, and murder combined. In a 15th century German text, Orchot Tzadikim, the sages say that gossip slays 3 people: the one who speaks the gossip, the one who listens to the gossip. Sometimes we think that if we're just listening to a friend go on and on and on about whoever or whatever, that we're not really party to it. By passively participating, by listening, we are a party to it. So it slays the person who says it slays the person who listens to it, and of course, it slays the person about whom the gossip is said. They go so far to underscore the point I just made, that the one who listens to the gossip is guiltier than the one who speaks it. It is forbidden to dwell in the neighborhood of gossips. All the more so, it is forbidden to sit with them and listen to their words. And last but not least, Mevlana Rumi, the 13th century Persian Sunni Muslim poet and mystic, said that we ought to know that a word suddenly shot from the tongue is like an arrow shot from the bow. Son, that arrow won't turn back on its way. You must dam the torrent at its source. There's a well-known story about a man who would go all over town telling malicious lies about his friends and his neighbors, and finally he realized all the wrong that he had done, and he begins to feel badly about it, feel remorse about it. And so he goes to the rabbi, he begs for forgiveness, saying he'll do anything he possibly can to make amends for all these horrible things he's said about everyone, all the gossip he's said about everyone. And the rabbi tells him, man, okay, fine. Go into your house, go into your bedroom, take a feather pillow off the bed, go outside, cut open the feather pillow, scatter the feathers out into the wind. And the man thinks this is a bizarre request, but he does it anyway. It seems simple enough. And then he comes back to the rabbi, says he did what he's been told. And the rabbi says, okay, now go and gather all the feathers. And the rabbi says, well, the man says, well, that's impossible. They're gone. And the rabbi says, well, so it is with your words. You can't simply take them back once you've said them. Yes, our words have tremendous power. Both the power to do harm, but if that's true, then it's also equally true that they have the power to do good as well. If we think back to the very beginning of the Torah, God actually creates the world with words, by speaking. Words themselves are just words. It's up to each and every one of us to decide whether we use our words to create or whether we use our words to destroy. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue now with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, with the service for the reading of Torah.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Gadlul Adonai iti Uneromema Shemo Yachtav. Let's all join now in the blessing before the reading of the Torah. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach leolam vaed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. Ve'ish ki maret rosho kereyahu tahorhu ve'im mipa'at panav imaret rosho gibeyahu tahorhu V'chi yeh v'karachat o v'gabachat nega lavan adam dam tzarat porachat hi b'karakto o v'gabakto v'ra'a oto hakohen v'hinei se'et hanega levana adam demet Bekarakto o vegabachto kimar'et sarat or basar ish tzaruahu tamehu tameh yetame'enu hakohen berosho nig'o vehatzaruach asher bo anega begadav Yiyu ferumim v'rosho yeh farua ve'al safam yateh v'tamei yikra kol yemei asher hanega bo yitma tamehu badad yeshev michutz lamachane moshavo. We'll join now in the blessing after. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
We take a few minutes amidst our joy and celebration on this Shabbat to think of loved ones and family members, members of our community who are in need of healing, in need of wholeness. And in just a moment, we'll offer the words of the Mishaberach, a prayer of healing for them. So if you're thinking of someone, if there's someone in your life, in your family who could use a bit of wholeness, a bit of healing, I invite you to call their name to mind now, to hold them in your heart now, as together we offer these healing words of the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov Mishaberach imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. Never one who blessed our mothers. blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Mi sheberach avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
As we conclude our service, we think of loved ones, family members, members of our community who are no longer with us, as we enter moments of sacred memory, moments of Kaddish. We begin by thinking of those for whom we're in a period of Shloshim, those who have died during these past 30 days. As we call to mind Mary Ann Fenster, Marshall Gelfand, Doug Gerson, Vera Halpern, Barry Kessler, Louis Lowy, Yusuf Mabubianfard, Louis Gerald Miller, Michael Portis, David Wolfe, and Dorothy Wright. We add to their names the names of those whose yahrzeits occurred during this past week: Adrian Adelman, Irving Applebaum, Solomon Baker, Lillian Barbakoff, Martin Barbakoff, Ronald Barbanel, Abram Barkan, Jack Becker, Zach Bell, Elaine Berkeley, Dorothy Berman, Muriel Berman, Rochelle Bernstein, Milton Blummer, Gloria Jean Brody, Janet Burns, Joanne Chu, Solomon Cohen, Frida Dueck, Cecile Eimer, Diane Francis Eisner, Lillian Evans, Helen Feldschker, Joanne Epstein Feldman, Robert Israel Feldman, Sylvia Fox, Sarah Frechtel, Arlene Fredgant, Evelyn Furman, Rose Gaines, Eugene Galen, Peter Gold, Corinne Goldsmith, Florence Goldstein, Yetta Goldstein, David Goodman, Sylvia Gottenberg, Lawrence Graff, Lou Greenspoon, Bernell Grossman, Paul Grossman, Bernard Harris, Milton Hollander, Diane Indersky, Larry Cartganger, Fayette Carpel, Irving Kay, Louis Kind, Sarah Kleiman, Evelyn Cosberg, Suzanne Krakow, Frank David Creven, Edith Leonard, Pamela Lever, Alfred Levin, Ruth Levine, Alice Levy, Betty Levy, Helen Levy, Shirley Levy, Carla Lichtenstein, Joshua Saul Lobenthal, William Laukheim, Beatrice Lowe, Rose Mann, Sam Miner, Helen Morris, Richard Mosk, Dustin Mullins, Lillian Naiman, Charles Nevels, Melinda Notkin, Helen Orland, Marcia Flug, John Ressler, Phyllis Rishover, Ethel Rosenfeld, Richard Rothstein, Samuel Roth, Rhoda Sarnat, David Schneider, Harry Schnell, Arthur Schreiber, Evelyn Schuckman, Rita Sobolski, Manny Segal, David Siegel, Ruth Siegel, George Schechtman, Herman Schrager, Ben Schreier, Richard Morton Sloan, Herman Solomon, Herbert Stein, Dorothea Stokes, Rose Tarshish, Annette Trustman, Sessa Ullman, Irving Wax, Pauline Wax, Philip Wainman, Lewis Wallace, Ronnie Wiesel, Jacob Winnertz, Molly Daum Whitdrack, Zemlak, and Ronald Ziff. We add to their names the names of those to whom we are grateful but do not know, those who have fallen defending the flags of the United States of America, the State of Israel, and all the innocent victims of senseless terrorism and violence all over the world, and everyone who has no one to say Kaddish for them. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. We join together in Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayed chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'ytroman v'yitnaseh. V'tadar v'ytalev v'ytalal shemei dikudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'cha'ata v'nechem ata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imaru. Amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen.
And in this moment, Beau, we'll join in Oseh Shalom, and we celebrated our homeland this week, its birthday, and also its fallen soldiers, Yom HaZikaron. And this melody for Oseh Shalom was composed more than 50 years ago now in Israel by Nurit Hirsch. Right? So a fitting ending to our service today and celebrating Israel. Oseh Shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Dan. Have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbat.
You
To everyone as well out there, have a wonderful Shabbat, a wonderful weekend. We'll see you all next week.